But do your 18-inch dolls have a kitty cat in their family? Does that cat maybe need some food or a cute little hideaway / scratching post? Stay tuned, find out what surprising thing I based this on, and see how easy these projects all are. Okay, as I was brainstorming what to do for video this week, I remembered that just before Christmas I had picked up this cute little cat for the dolls at Walmart. I don't remember how much this little guy was. He was only a few dollars, maybe $4 or $5 at the most. And I thought he or she, I guess, with the pink collar, was adorable. So I got to thinking, why not make some cat accessories for the dolls for their pets? I know a lot of people either pick up things like this or they get the American Girl doll company's little pets, and they have a couple of cats too. But their accessories are so expensive. So this little scratching hideaway thing, I thought, I'm kind of loosely basing this on one we have for our real cats. We're actually going to start with 2 oatmeal canisters. Now, I will admit, as I'm starting to record this, I've only thought this through about 1.5 steps in advance. I'm kind of making this up as I go. So hopefully this works. If you're watching it, it worked. So we're going to need 1 container. These are the kind that hold, by the way, 2 pounds, 10 ounces of oatmeal. As you can tell, my son likes old-fashioned, and he eats oatmeal. Sometimes he'll snack on oatmeal 2 or 3 times a day. So we need 2 of these. 1 we need to have the lid for. This is going to be our main structure. And I'm actually not going to cut this down in height. It's going to be a little taller than in scale with using the whole container, but I think it will be structurally a lot stronger, especially if kids are going to play with this a little bit. We are going to make holes in this. We're also going to use a second canister, but we won't need the lid for this one. For this one, we're actually using the bottom, and then I'm going to use the top just a few inches off the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go get myself made a template, figure out how big I want to make it, for the openings in our first container. So I'll be back when I get that figured out. Alright, so I have decided I'm going to cut 3.5-inch circles out of the side. You don't have to use this. I happen to have some sticker paper, so I'm using that as a template so that I can see it and so that you guys can see it too. Oops, the only problem with this stuff is it is not very forgiving. I'm going to put it right there, and then I want to go up about 1 inch, I think. You could use, anything you've got. You could just draw a circle on here. You'll want a pretty round circle, and I'm hoping I've got these lined up. Looks like it. All right, that gives me a template to draw around. You could draw that on with a Sharpie. You could do this any way you want. I just thought it would be easier for me on video and for you guys to see it. I'm taking a fairly sharp craft knife, and I'm going to cut as close around that template as I can, and obviously I've gotten off already. It doesn't have to be perfect. We are going to cover this later. And obviously this is not a part of the project for the kids to do. This is a part for the adult to do. Okay, so I've got one just about cut around. And I'm leaving the lid on because I think that's going to help it stay a little more stiffer, a little less apt to bend out of shape, because we want to be careful here. This is not a job for scissors because you might smash your round tub. There's one. I'm going to cut the other one out off camera and then I'll be back. Alright, so we've got that box, we've got 2 holes in it. Now we're going to take this box and we're going to kind of dissect this one. I've drawn a line roughly 1 inch down all the way around, and I'm going to cut this off. Let's see if I can get that out just a little bit more. And this doesn't have to be completely straight. And at the seam, I think I'll come back to the seam last. Just be careful so you don't cut yourself. You don't want to be cutting, we don't want to be cutting ourselves making crafts. That's no fun. And now we need to cut out this bottom. Actually, can I just peel this part up? I'm going to cut it out. So we're going to use the bottom of the tub. Come on. Oh, there we go. I would like to get this part of the box off if I can, so that I just have this part, but there. I want to remove all of this outside part. There we go. There. Don't throw away this yet. I haven't decided if I need more of this. So now I need to go get some glue so that I can start assembling this. Alright, so I got this all the way off and got the paper all peeled away. Pretty much peeled away. And one thing I did off camera, this was like this. It looked just like the seam on this one. And I very carefully kind of peeled up at this and worked this out, because we need this to be open to do our next, one of our steps here. So I've taken the lid off. Don't lose the lid. I'm going to take this bottom from the other container and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to try and make it as level as I can without measuring it. And I'm using my hot glue gun, and you're going to want to put quite a bit of hot glue in here. This is where I'm not really sure. We might need to use part of the other box. Okay, there. I'm also going to see. See if I can get in there. Yes, I can. I know you can't really see, neither can I, but you know, we're going to go with it. I'm trying to get hot glue in from the top, and I'm going to glue. This is a silicone mat that I'm working on. It makes it a lot nicer to work on with the hot glue. And this is going to take quite a bit of glue. We're going to go all the way around on the bottom. And I'm also going to work in as much hot glue on the top as I can. Oops. I just made that crooked. No, that's fine. However you get it now is how it's going to be. So, okay. I'll continue trying to feed some in from the top also. Now, take this, and we're going to fit this around so that it sticks up, kind of like this. So I'm going to put you're going to try and get this on straight. It didn't matter if we cut it straight, but we do kind of want it straight at this point. And try and feed that back in a little bit if you can. Okay. And then more glue. It's a little bit crooked, but hopefully that'll be okay. Alright, so I am going to let this glue set up and then fill in any spots I missed with the hot glue, and when this gets all cooled off, I'll be back. Okay, so the hot glue has set up actually for a couple of days now because I got really sick yesterday. So we are going to cover this with our carpet, something that looks like carpet, because these in real life are usually covered with carpeting. What I've got, about a yard of terry cloth, and I'm going to use the rougher side. I'm going to leave the rougher side out, glue the smooth side down. Now because terry cloth ravels really easily, we're going to have to make sure that the edges are coated in glue. I'm going to start at the back, and I'm going to run a bead of hot glue. Now, before I go that any further, I cut this approximately 12 inches long by the width of the fabric, and then I cut off the selvage. I'm going to make sure I have enough that I can fold over into our little drop-down area and some to go underneath, because we are going to put, in fact I need to put this back on, because I want this back on at this point. I want to glue to it. Now where's that line? So now I'm going to use this line because this will be an easy line. And then being very careful not to burn your fingers, lay this down. And we're going to give this a couple of minutes to set, a couple of seconds to set up. We're going to pull this all the way around. And I'm going to try and cut a line, a straight, I've got it wrapped around and just a little past there. Try and cut this fairly straight and still be on camera. Alright. Now, pull this. I'm going to fold it over. And hold it down. And I don't know if it's showing on camera, but my glue gun is incredibly hot, and there's actually steam rises from my glue. So I try to keep my fingers out of it. I folded it over so it wouldn't fray, be really, fray and tear on the back. And you want this not super tight so that it's pulling, but you want it tight enough that it's going to stay. And I suppose you could use, if you had like a towel, if you couldn't find terry cloth you liked, you could buy like a towel and do this with. I think it's cheaper to buy the fabric though. Alright. And I don't want this much bulk. Do I want this much? Oh, I guess it'll be fine. Alright, now I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to, by having the lid underneath here, we're adding to the structural integrity of our, that was hot, of our piece. And if you don't like the way the bottom looks, you could cut an additional piece of cardboard and cover the bottom.
Captain, we are being hailed.
And I forgot to silence my cell phone that's sitting here. I'll silence that. That's what I forgot. Yes, now you all know I'm a geek and I have Star Trek ringtones on my phone. But we already knew I was a geek. And this project is going through quite a bit of hot glue, something I don't normally use in my videos, but it's really what works best for this. And we are going to put an insert in here, so don't worry about that. And yeah, the kitty can't get in yet. We'll go to that step pretty soon here. And I'm kind of running glue up and then down on the bottom of this. Be sure that when you get over here, you get the first layer that you put down, the first end down first, because you want the one with the fold over it. There we go. Let's get glue in here. More glue. This is one of those projects where I really feel like you can't use too much glue because you want this to stay put. Now we're going to let that glue set. I've cut 2 circles of, that's a Triscuit box. They are just under 5 inches because that's what the interior measured. I'm going to take this piece that's left. And I'm going to run glue around the edge, trying not to burn myself. It's always my goal with the glue gun. I sometimes manage to succeed. If I sound funny, I've got a cough drop because I really still don't feel very good. I think I'm on the right side. And I don't think it matters which side you have towards the fabric. We're going to glue it down, but you'll need 2 of these. And we're going to cut that off smooth with the edge when this glue sets up. Alright, now we've got these 2 holes here. I'm using fabric scissors. I'm going to first cut, oops, I got glue. Well, hopefully I can get that off. Try not to get glue on the outside of your project. I see I got a little bit there. Don't cut too close to the edge of your interior hole. We just need to cut some of this out. Now, I'm cutting up right to that cardboard if I can, in most places. Get that at a time. Alright, now this is where I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm just running a little bit of glue in just inside of the hole that I've got cut on the inside of the oatmeal box. I really don't want to touch that hot glue. There. And if you've got glue strings, don't worry about those. We can get rid of those later with a hairdryer or a heat tool or something. I just realized I probably should have cut 3 of those circles. I'm going to have to cut another one of those 5-inch circles. So I'm going to find another piece of cardboard. Alright, well, I'm going to continue on around. I'm going to glue all this around, and then I'm going to do the very same thing on the top hole, and when I get that done, and a 3rd circle of cardboard cut and put on this terry cloth, I'll be back. Alright, so this is all glued and ready to go, and I've cut out 3 circles covered in cardboard circles covered in terry cloth, and now I'm going to very carefully run a bead of glue just kind of around the edge here. I want to make sure this is attached really well, and that I keep any fraying out of this terry cloth down to a minimum. So I will turn the camera off and go all the way around all 3 of these, and when they've set up, I'll be back. Alright, after long enough, I've got long enough to manage. There's a blister there from my hot glue, so be careful with your hot glue gun. So, I have these 3. I've now run glue all the way around the edges. That's how I managed to burn myself. So be really, really careful. Don't let the kids use the hot glue gun. If they're going to do this, have them use something like tacky glue. Now, we are going to have to kind of bend these and put them in. So, I'll put some glue in here. And if you hear my son, he's in the kind of in the other side of this room watching computer, and he tends to be loud. But you guys know that. You've seen him before. I bet you guys didn't see any of what I just did. Alright, so we've got the first layer. Leave your nicest looking one of these circles for the top. So whichever one you think looks the best when you're done. And push in. And they should be kind of tight, but size so that they will fit flat. This one will need to be glued a little more securely because it will be on the top. Yeah, this is a dangerously hot glue gun, so oops, and I have a big old chunk of glue hanging off of it. This I think is the one I was doing when I burnt myself. Now I'm going to use the blade of my scissors. Use a tool to get this down in. In retrospect, I'm kind of wishing I would have went a little higher with my wall, but push this down so that it sits pretty flat. And there we go. We have a cat toy. Well, let's cut the tag off of Kitty. And there. Kitty cat can be on the cat toy. Need to trim some strings on him. But there. The dolls have a cat toy for their cat. So I hope you enjoyed this project. And stay tuned for a little bonus project we're going to do. All right, the glue gun and stuff is all put away, so now it's time to do our kind of bonus project. I'm giving you a little extra project this week. We are going to be making some pet food and treats. So we're going to make these, and we're going to make some of this. Now all of this comes as the last installment of the Contemporary Collection subscription from Paper Minis. It's a 12-month subscription that you pay. So you pay $7.50 a month, and you get a disc every month. And then this, you get the 13th disc for free, and that's what this collection is. You don't have to buy that to get part of this. One page of this, the canned food, Anne has available on her complimentary projects. So all you have to do to get that, subscribe to her newsletter, and on the newsletter about halfway down or between halfway and the bottom of the page, there'll be a link to all complimentary collections, and this is on there. Just scroll through until you find it, and it comes in several sizes. So this is the 1/3 scale for our 18-inch dolls. We're going to make this page, which I'm not sure why that way on both of them. I actually printed an extra page of this, and I'll show you why in a little bit. You're going to make, yeah, it did, the canned food. And I wanted to show you first, well, I'll show you what all we're making, then I'm going to show you the paper I'm using. We are going to make some kitty treats. Oops, don't need this page. And we're going to make, Anne calls these dry food, but I think it's more the size of a cat treat bag, in my opinion. It can be whatever you want it to be. Now for paper today, I'm using this matte photo paper. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite papers for doing printable projects on. It's got a couple of things going for it. Number one, the print quality is fantastic. I'm going to show you this page, printed on this paper, versus a piece of regular printer paper with the exact same settings. I printed these one after the other and kept the settings the same. You can see a huge difference. This paper is a really nice weight. It explains here that regular copy paper is 4.0 mils, cardstock is 9.0, and this comes in at 6.5, so it's about halfway in between copy paper and cardstock. So it's thin enough to roll and do things with, but it gives you beautiful print quality. And it's not super expensive. I think I paid about $10 for this 80 sheets of it, and I use tons of this stuff. So we'll start with the cans of cat food, and I'm going to cut out one set of things, and then I will turn the camera off and cut out the rest of these, and we'll do this one page at a time. I did print off an extra set of these, and I'll show you that in just a second. Now, so that you guys can see, and so I can see on camera. My lighting sucks out here. It is so cold in the two rooms that I normally film in that I can't film in them today. I'm having to film in my dining room, where the lighting is horrible. Okay, I'm just cutting along here. Now, if you don't have a straight edge and a craft knife, you could do this very carefully with scissors, but this is just a dollar store craft knife, and I think there's 3 to a package or something. There's multiple ones to a package, and you can use any straight edge that you want to. This one I've got to replace quite often because it is clear plastic, but for doing videos it works really well, and I didn't get quite deep enough, so I'm going to go in with scissors and finish cutting that. Come on. All right. Yeah, if I do it with scissors, I'm going to get it crooked. No, I'm not. I'll just go back and recut it. All right, there we go. That little spot that I messed up won't really matter because we're not going to see that part. Just even it out a little bit. Now you'll want to cut off the extra at the ends. Now at this end, we don't want to be above that line. And I see I missed my line just a little bit. And down in this area, it's even okay to cut it a little too skinny. Now I'm going to cut out a set of can lids. First, I'll use this one because it's easier to get to. I'm just going to cut them free from the page. And I'm not really using the ruler to measure, I'm using the ruler to protect what I want to protect. Now, these are round. I don't want to use great big straight scissors to cut round. My favorite scissors to cut round is this. This is a pair of cuticle scissors, the curved kind. See, the blades are kind of curved here. Get these where you get your like nail polish and nail polish remover and that kind of stuff. The regular drugstore. They're not very expensive and they are really handy when you're trying to cut something small and round because they're round. And I'm not going to get it perfect the first time. I'm going to come back and trim a little bit. Right, there's my trash. Cut the bottom out. I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll put this one can together and then I'll turn the camera off, put the rest of my cans together, come back and do one of the treat bags and then I'll turn the camera off and do the rest. But this way you get to see everything. All right, so there's a bottom. Now, my thought on this was I'm going to take one of these extra lids. I think this is going to work. This is the first time I've done this particular thing. I'm not going to cut the whole thing out. I'm just going to cut out the pop-up top. And I should have brought a hole punch. On a smaller scale, I don't think I would try this little extra bit. But for this scale, I think it's going to work. And I don't know that I'm going to... Am I able to cut that out? I think I can. Make myself a starter cut here. Normally I would use a hole punch, but I forgot to bring it with. And it's cold in this house. I don't want to go back to that end of the house. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's fine. Now, I have a couple of marking pens here. These are both Sharpies. These are Sharpie Metallics. I have a gold one and a silver one, and you can get a package of just these two colors. If you do printable food, grocery type printables that are metal cans, I really recommend you go and buy these. They're inexpensive, they last a long time as long as you make sure you cap them each time. And they make your stuff look so much better. Now this is kind of a gold. I'm going to test it on my extra ones. See which one matches. See, I think that's more gold than silver on this particular can. Let's look at this one. Yeah, definitely. But the other part is silver. So what I'm going to do, and you could use either, holding it with the back towards the pen, I'm just coloring the edge. Always work from the back, so if you slip, you'll put that awful mark like I just did on the back and not the front. I looked to see if I had a hole punch that was the right size for these, and I didn't have one. Because when I do, I like to use that. Then I can use that hole that I created in the paper to get these out to make sure this is rolled the right diameter. All right. Now, I'm going to do the same thing on the sides of this, because we don't want that white paper showing. And this step with this little bit is totally optional. It's just, I thought it would be kind of cute. A little more dimension. Now the edge of this strip is definitely silver, if I can get it picked up. I'm going to go through. Always working from the back. But you'll notice as you're looking at this even, the edge of the paper just kind of disappears and blends in. And because Sharpies are an alcohol marker, they dry very quickly, so you don't have to worry about waiting for that ink to dry. All right, now I am going to locate my glue. I've got a couple of kinds of glue here. And I need a piece of scrap paper, which I forgot to bring, but I've got this. I just printed that off so you guys could see the difference. It's right side up. And you need something small enough to wrap this around. I'm going to use this pen that's sitting here. I like to pre-roll this. And this paper is wonderful because it does roll beautifully. It doesn't fight me. Like cardstock sometimes is a little heavy. A lot of times I do use cardstock, but it's heavy and it's hard to do. And being matte, the ink just goes on here beautifully. All right, now we've got it rolled smaller than it needs to be. So we are going to kind of play with this. And that's about right. So we want it to just meet. I'm going to use a glue stick. I like the purple kind, mainly because I can see then if I've got glue everywhere I want it, and I can make sure I'm working before the glue stick dries. The secret to getting glue stick to really work for you on something like this is to make sure it's still wet when you go to use it. Now, trying to get this met up where I want it. Am I happy with that? Yes, I am, except that's the bottom of the can. Now this time I'm using some Mono Liquid Tombow Mono multi-glue. Any good glue that will work on paper will work for this. I'm using this because this is what's on my table here, and I don't want to have to go to the other end of the house. The only downside of this is it does remain sticky after it dries, so if it oozes out, you might have a little bit of a messy situation. Get this put on just where you want it. Now I'm going to put a dot of glue. Make sure you're under, I'm under camera here, where that is. Make sure it's lined up the way you want it. And there we go. There's our first can of cat food. So I'm going to let this one dry. I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to complete the other 5 cans, and then I'll be back. All right, so I have all the cans of cat food now put together, and they're ready to go, you know, for the dolls to pretend to feed their kitties. And we are now going to do the dry cat food bags and the treat bags. And what I did ahead of time, I started the treat bags and got them ready to go so they're dry so I can move forward. Because these are made exactly the same way as these. So I'll do the first step on one of these, and then I'll show you how to complete it there. Make sure I only have one piece of paper here. So our first step, like any other time, is to cut it out. Oops. And these you can trim down. In fact, we'll be trimming it down a little bit possibly when we get it, the glue dried. So if you leave a little white edge, it's not a huge deal. There, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Get this done. And I forgot to bring my normal scoring tool, so I'm going to show you how to score with the craft knife. Now, at the bottom of each side, you've got to gusset at the very bottom of the bag. So where the front design ends, line your ruler up, turn your blade backwards. The cutting edge of my blade is here. This is the back of the knife. And I'm going to score with that back side. You still need to go very gently. You can still actually cut through this paper. All right. I'm not going to worry about this because we can trim this later. So we're going to fold this, we're going to fold this. Now we're going to line these 2 folded edges up, but I don't want a hard crease in there. There. Now I'm going to need my clamps. I take some glue. We're going to take a fairly fine line of glue. We're going to start at 1 fold. We've got a valley, a mountain, a valley, and a side. I'm going to start there. I'm going to run a continuous bead of glue all the way up. And I'm going to make sure I'm on camera. Try to just zoom in a little bit so you can see this. Don't go in too far because we're actually going to put something into the bag. So it appears to have some kitty treats or kitty food in it. Now, without getting glue all over myself, I'm going to fold this up. Get it as straight as you can, and then use a thin clamp. I like these clamps. These are just binder clips, and I get these at Dollar Tree. There's several in a package for $1, and they're great for clamping these little paper projects. And just kind of line them up and let that dry. When it dries, you'll be able to work with it. All right, so we've got this. See, we've got the bottom is able to fold out. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim this side. Trim it back just a little bit so I get rid of that white line. And I'm going to check the back. There. Same thing on the green one. My glue is just, like I said before. Well, I say yesterday because I actually started this video yesterday. Well, actually, I started a couple of days ago. I did the other gluing yesterday. Alright, now we want this to look and sound like it has kitty food in it. Now you can open that out if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just going to open it up. And I have some beads. These are just cheap plastic beads. It's a good way to use up those ones that you get that you know, if you bought a sack of beads to do a project and you don't need all of them. Okay, put a couple of pinches in there. And then my glue is underneath my beads. Why did I put the lid back? Then take a nice, very thin bead of glue. And you can kind of see how far, I can go down a little farther on this because the top is supposed to be done down to that zipper. Take another one of these clamps and clamp this shut and let that glue dry. When that glue dries, you can feel the beads in there and it feels like there's kitty treats. So that's how simple this is. I'm going to put the rest of these together when the glue is all dry and I've got everything done. I'll come back and show you the finished group. Alright, so here are these packages in various stages. So here's one of the ones that I have finished. Isn't that cool? Doesn't that sound neat? And if you see things that don't belong to this project, it's because I'm doing like 4 projects and recording 2 of them on my table simultaneously. So hopefully that won't be confusing. And here's the other little kitty treats. So those are both ready to go. So let's finish up one of these sacks of, she calls it a bag of dry cat food. It is a little bit bigger. And I think Fancy Feast dry food is small like this. Now scissors. I use them over here. So I'm going to trim just that very narrow part off. Now this one, since we want a little more bulk, I'm going to reach down in and kind of, I'm going to choose to do this. Alright. Now, we want it to stay that way. So I'm going to try 2 different things here. I've got just a tissue, like a Kleenex type tissue. Freshly out of the box, no concerns there. You can choose to put some beads in here or not. I don't think I will. I think I'll just put it like this. I'm going to run a bead of glue, just like we did the others. And then, again, you'll want to clamp. And by putting the tissue in there, it looks like there's something in the bag. It doesn't look like just an empty bag. So let's trim this purple one. I have stuff sticking to my scissors. Hopefully the lighting is staying all right. I'm getting really close to being too dark to film. All right, so this one, let's get this one opened up. By pushing that gusset open on the bottom, it makes the bag look a little bigger. And this time I've just got like a paper towel. I'm going to try that in this one. And you could add beads in with this, but I've moved the beads over where I can't reach them anymore, so I'm not going to put beads in this one. We're going to clamp this shut. I'm going to do the same thing with the green one. When this is all done, I'll come back and we'll look at everything together. Alright, so we have everything all finished now. We have our sacks of cat food, we have our cans of cat food. Set up some over there. Whoops, there's junk sticking to me.
Hi.
And my son's being loud in the next room. We have our kitty treats, and of course we have our little kitty hideaway / scratching post. I hope you enjoyed today's project. Be sure and check the blog post. I'll have some better photos on there than I can put on the video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I encourage you to do that and to follow the blog too, because I post some blogs that don't have videos with them. And there's also a Facebook page, and the link to that is in the description box. And a lot of times I give you a few heads up on projects and ask questions and stuff over there. I'd like to get that page a little more active, so I encourage you to like that page too. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.